Pulling back the curtain. If you don't wish to be blinded by the many wizards of deception, you must keep pulling back the curtain, knowing you'll never pull back all of it. First, you must never lose sight of the curtain and the awareness that forces are just out of sight, manipulating perception and even constructing the reality we perceive. We look about at a world of seemingly solid objects, while intellectually we know it is mostly empty space inhabited by subatomic particles, some of which are clouds of probability not to be located in any particular place. Similarly, we experience our bodies as a coherent whole, when actually a cooperative network of 50 trillion cells, each like a small city with numerous processes going on simultaneously, constructs our body. In other words, there is a curtain hiding vast complexity and strangeness from all our sense perceptions. For example, a living, breathing person enters my perceptual field and stands before me. I do not see his 50 trillion cells. I do not see the bizarre world of subatomic particles, vibrating multidimensional superstrings, or whatever makes up those cells. What I do see is ambient light reflecting off the topography of his skin, hair, and clothing. This reflected light enters the cornea of my eye, a simple convex lens, and appears upside down on the back of my retina. My brain employs processing routines to turn that image right side up and interpret the information it has received to construct an image, a neurological artifact. This process takes time, so what I actually perceive is a reconstructed simulacrum of a past event. When I pass my gaze over this person, my eyes are blind as I move them. My brain freeze frames individual still shots and pastes them together to create the false impression of that I'm perceiving continuous motion. The wetware in my head has thrown together a video of past events, and yet that is the least of the curtains standing between me and this other person. I am far more subjective than a camera made of meat and bone that records things, because I too am a person, a social mammal, and between me and the perception of this other person are 1,000 layers of conditioned projections, stereotyped expectations, inaccurate notions, and prejudices that shimmer all around the other like heat ripples arising from hot asphalt. His skin color, age, body type, and so forth are each highly charged signifiers that resonate with emotional memories and are refracted through what cognitive psychologists call schemas and various conditioned templates in my mind. Everything I don't know about myself, and therefore don't know about other people and the larger reality, stands between me and my perception of the other like heavy, opaque shadows or curtains. I am looking through a glass darkly, and there are whole curtained off areas I'm scarcely aware of. I live, therefore, in a world of projection screens, optical illusions, misdirections, blind spots, smoke, and mirrors that I think are windows. To pull back the curtain, I need to be aware that I'm living in a narrow curtained space. Most of us realize when we watch television news that there are heavy curtains behind the video screen. The news projected on our screen is flattened, idealized, and digitally enhanced, and behind the curtain are backroom deals, hidden agendas, and classified information. We know there are curtains hiding much from us regarding world affairs, but we are often much less aware of the heavy curtains that hide from us so much of what is going on with our internal affairs. The news anchors in our heads tell us a narrative that so-and-so is sleeping with so-and-so, for example. But behind the gossipy news of the day are vast curtained off areas edited out of the news show. For example, the news anchor in our heads may not know much or say much about what drives our sexuality and makes us care that so-and-so is sleeping with so-and-so. The cameras in the television studio are pointed away from the curtains. The cameras zoom in on the talking heads and attractive body parts. Meanwhile, we don't see or hear much about the strange, potent forces that cause us, for example, to be intensely attracted to one kind of person and not other kinds. Behind the facade, levers are pulled, dials turned, and algorithms are engaged that cause a particular person to light up, gigantically magnified on our screen. And what they say makes the very ground under our feet tremble with subwoofer vibrations. Dramas light up on our screens and engage, even obsess our attention. But to know what's going on, we need to take off our 3D glasses, our virtual reality headset, and look back over our shoulder at the projector coming from that curtained off area. Increasingly, incoming media presents us with hordes of people who claim to be curtain pullers, but who are actually noisy curtain merchants. Many of these fall into the category of conspiracy theorists. Now, let me just say, there's nothing wrong with being a conspiracy theorist if you're good at it, because there are real potent conspiracies out there. My dad, for example, was a very competent conspiracy theorist, so I grew up with that. But he was able to closely predict the timing of the Kennedy assassination, had all kinds of things to say about the CIA using paid provocateurs and ferrying drugs into the country and this kind of thing. But his information was coming from reports in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. It was based on news organizations that do fact checking. It was based on real information and careful reality testing and rigorous thinking. So there's nothing wrong with being a conspiracy theorist if you employ critical thinking, understand the levels of validity of varying sources of information. The problem is that most people who are offering conspiracy theories out there totally suck at conspiracy theorizing and evaluating the validity of sources of information. These are the people who tell you everything on the popular media is all lies. Well, it's not all lies. There's a lot of just straight up news reporting. And of the percentage of lies or inaccuracies versus truth, an outfit like the Wall Street Journal is going to have a much higher percentage than most conspiratist, posting on social media will. So if you ask Noam Chomsky where he gets his information, he'll say the Wall Street Journal, because they people with a lot of money need to know accurate information to be able to know how to invest their money. But this doesn't occur to people who don't actually read the mainstream media, and so they just confidently say it's all lies without having examined whether that's the case or not. So many of the people anybody who tells you to wake up, for example, is almost certainly asleep behind a curtain. How do they know that they're awake? None of us are fully awake. And so the people who are claiming to pull back curtains are often the ones who are selling curtains, garishly colored ones that would blind you from having any understanding of what's actually going on. Of course, there are myriad conspiracies at work in the world, but most conspiratists don't even begin to have the capacity for vetting info or even the most basic skills of reality testing and self-awareness to locate such conspiracies accurately. Instead, they contribute to keeping actual conspiracies hidden by their appalling incompetence and conscious or unconscious charlatanism. So the greatest friend of conspiracies, actual conspiracies, are conspiracy theorists, because they so confuse the information landscape that it's hard to accurately locate the actual conspiracies out there that we need to know about. It's similar to when a fighter jet, wants to confuse the radar of incoming missiles and things like that. It releases chaff. It releases like these like sheets of aluminum and stuff that will confuse enemy radar tracking. So conspiracy theorists are like the chaff. They function as loud, proselytizing curtain salespeople, spreading garishly colored curtains that leave people ever more blinded. And you can see my YouTube called Problems with the Conspiratist Worldview, where I go through some of that. Time-honored technologies and pathways are available to aid us in pulling back the curtain. The most ancient and classic are intellectually rigorous reality testing of information and ideologies, oracles, dream work, psychoactives, and meditation. Oracles, through the principle of synchronicity, reveal archetypal forces and patterns of change working behind the curtain when they're working right. The I Ching has been in continuous use for several thousand years. Oracles have aided revelatory vision from prehistory to the present, but many people misuse them and can turn them into curtains, of course. Jung felt that most dreams were compensatory and compensated for defects in the waking consciousness. Every culture except fundamentalist materialism has recognized that a successfully interpreted dream can be a potent revelation of what's happening behind the awareness of the waking personality. On the other hand, Jung found after 60 years of dream interpretation, just as I found after 46 years of dream interpretation, that neither of us can make heads or tails of most of our dreams. Most dreams should not be interpreted, mostly just the big dreams that are forcing themselves into waking consciousness because they have some big archetypal message. That's the only reason why dream interpretation works. By the way, something I do for free, along with oracle readings at many festivals like the National Rainbow Gathering, Burning Man, some other festivals, and also I do have a services offering on the website, rarely used. I wouldn't have time for it if it were used more often, I suppose, but just to let people know that is there if somebody wanted to consult me for generalist advice, dream interpretation, or oracle readings. All cultures have employed psychoactives, despite their hazards, as potent sources of revelation. Those who want to enforce the curtain view have interposed police state tactics to severely punish those who wish to eat forbidden fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It is an essential human right to do what our ancestors have done through countless millennia, use psychoactive substances to expand consciousness and pierce through the curtained view. So you can Google Terence McKenna for visionary, but not always reliable. Tends to overgeneralize from the weird particularities of his experiences, for example. But he has brilliant visionary things to say about this path. For more reliable info, the airwood.org website seems to be pretty vast. Also, if you go to the categories section of this website, and I'll have links to this put into this card, but if you go to the categories, that's that telescope at the top, hit categories, and you'll see a lot of categories. One of them is trip reports. There are 3 of them so far. 2 are mine, 1 is a friend of mine, and they represent, dramatic instances of the curtain being pulled back, and whether what's revealed is truth or diabolical deception, I'll leave to your discernment. Meditation, if nothing else, can show how little control we typically have over what appears on the inner screen. By quieting the news anchors in our heads, we expand our ability to comprehend unnarrated realities. Mindfulness meditation, alert awareness to what is happening moment by moment, can pull back the heavy curtains of trance-like inattention that is the default state for many. Less ancient practices to see behind curtains include reading and otherwise learning about psychology, philosophy, and many other fields, reading novels that have penetrating insights into human nature, cutting-edge satire and journalism, visionary art, such as Alex Gray's work, the movies of David Lynch, and many other cultural products can powerfully assist us in finding out what is happening beneath the often deceptive surfaces of our world. So, my best attempt at pulling back the curtain. Well, there's my nonfiction book, and these are available free. In case you think I'm selling anything, uh, both totally free on the website. But if you want a physical book, or you want the Audible version, or the Kindle, there's an Audible for this one. I think that's the best version. Those are available on Amazon, of course. But this is kind of trying to pull back, in a nonfiction sense, some of the ultimate patterns unfolding at this phase of human evolution. But really, my best behind the curtain attempt is my sci-fi fantasy novel, Parallel Journeys. Um, so I hope you get a chance to read that. Again, can do it free on this website, beautifully displayed. Consider this an auspicious time to pull back the curtain and get the revelations you need.